From one half of the infamous Mitchell brothers in Eastenders to investigative journalist, winning awards for his documentaries.
Well, now Ross Kemp is exploring the impact of dementia after his close friend Dame Barbara Windsor, who he worked alongside for more than 25 years, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Here, he speaks to her husband, Scott.
The rapid deterioration in Barbara's health has led her specialist to tell Scott he needs to think about the future.
He's basically telling me I need to prepare myself, that at some point it may not be sustainable to give her the kind of care she needs at the house.
So what you're saying is it's getting to the point where the experts are telling you that she may be better off in a care home.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's the thing I've always feared, Ross.
And Ross joins us now live from Berkshire. Ross, very good morning to you. Talking to Scott, as you have done, I know, over these two episodes, it's just heartbreaking, isn't it? It's almost like it holds up a mirror to any other family who are experiencing this battle with Alzheimer's, what Dame Barbara and Scott are going through. It's enormously helpful at the same time as being very painful.
Yeah, you can see, if you look at Scott from the episode that went out last week to the episode that goes out tonight, that covers from sort of like mid-February virtually up until present day. And you look at the impact that that's had on him. You know, you've got to understand 850,000 people suffer from dementia, but 700,000 people care for loved ones. So the moment that dementia is diagnosed, not only does it have an effect on that person, it's like dropping, you know, a pebble in a pool. It goes across families, across friends. And because it's, you know, a social care issue rather than a medical care issue, the onus is sadly on those loved ones to care for that individual.
We've spoken to Scott a couple of times, and he's always so honest and open about what he's going through, and you can see the pain, but the love that he still has for Barbara. And of course, she was your on-screen mum for so many years and a very good friend of yours. How hard is it for you, Ross, when you see her and you get to talk to her and spend time with her?
Well, the last time I saw her was just before lockdown in February, because of distancing, and particularly because she's in the vulnerable bracket. I haven't seen her, but I've obviously been in contact with Scott, and you know, I think the COVID-19 virus has had a massive impact on all of us, but in particular that vulnerable bunch of people. Remember, despite what we've been through, dementia is still the biggest killer in the UK, and there is no cure for it. And the numbers of 850,000 are set to double in the next 25 to 30 years. So we have to look at the impact that that's having, particularly on people that have been in care homes, who haven't had a chance to see their loved ones, who are already disorientated, and then they had their worlds turned upside down. And we know that 60 to 70% of all people in care homes have dementia.
And it's an agonising decision, isn't it, for Scott to make? Because he has to now face up to the fact that that is something that he may have to do. He may have to put the wife that he loves into a care home.
I don't think it's even a may, to be honest with you. No. I think, sadly, it's gonna happen, and it's probably going to happen in the nearer future than the long-term future, because, you know, as he says in the interview, there has been a marked decline in her health. This is a disease that has no cure. And, you know, if you're the single carer for that person, you're with them all day and then you're with them all night. And we know that dementia affects people far worse at night time in the darker hours. And there's a notable decline in people, particularly when we go into the winter months, because it gets darker earlier, and that causes more anxiety.
Ross, you've done so many extraordinary documentaries over the years. You've been embedded with frontline troops. You've also met militia and all sorts of people. But I wonder where this sits in terms of the difficulty, because somebody you dearly love is going through this very, very painful experience.
Yeah, it's a catalyst for it, you know, of course. But, you know, there's also a young girl in this documentary who's 5 years old that's got dementia. And her family, the Mills family, are setting aside the inevitability of her passing, because with that particular type of dementia, you only live maximum to 20 and maybe only to 15. And they're foregoing their grief now and giving her the best possible life they can possibly give her And I think that's an incredible emotional sacrifice. And that's being done by so many people across the country. As I say, this is the biggest killer in the UK, and there is no cure for it.
Ross, that's remarkable. I had no idea that dementia affected children.
Yeah, Sanfilippo syndrome, it's called. And it's basically the same thing. You know, I'm no doctor, as you know, but basically, it's basically the cells shutting down inside the brain and them not being cleared. You know, we generate cells all the time and we clear them. With dementia, that process stops happening, and that's why it starts affecting, generally in Alzheimer's, for instance, it starts affecting your short-term memory, and then it will start slowly wiping all your memories. Then it attacks your speech, and then it will go on to physical parts of your body.
Do you know what?
The reason,
that's just,
sorry.
I mean, it's just utterly heartbreaking. I think there's almost an acceptance, however hard it is, that dementia may affect older relatives. But the idea of, you know, not being recognised or remembered by your own child, it's so hard.
Penny now knows less at 5 than she did at 3.
Oh, my goodness, Ross, that's just heartbreaking. Just to I know that the main focus of the programme has been, you know, looking at what's happening with Dame Barbara. And as we've said, you've been very close to her. Very hard for Scott that she finds it hard to recognise him. But when you last saw her, did she recognise you? What was that conversation like?
Well, the nature of the disease is that she initially knew exactly who I was, and then 3 minutes she turned to me and asked me who I was. 3 minutes. So, you know, she looks at the pictures of her, you know, her in her heyday on the wall, fantastic pictures of an incredible career, and she goes, "Who's that lady?" And that is hot.
She can't even recognise herself. No.
That's hot.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've done an amazing piece of work here. It's absolutely vitally important, you know, and as I say, not just shining a light on something which is affecting hundreds of thousands of families when it comes to older dementia, but also just raising the awareness of this vitally important and heartbreaking situation with younger people. And it must have taken its toll on you, Ross. No, it was in your own family, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah, my nan had it in her later life. But again, I think it's so important to remember that, for instance, the generation that were born in 2015, 1 in 3 women will suffer from dementia. 1 in 4 men will suffer from dementia. So if you think you're a young person now and it's not going to affect you, there is no cure for this. Yeah. So I would urge you to look at this film and begin to understand what we are faced with.
Well, you can see it tonight, part 2 of Living with Dementia with Ross on 7:30. On ITV. And Ross, thank you so much, as ever, for joining us and talking us through what was clearly a very emotional documentary for you to film, and hugely important as well. We look forward to seeing that later on.
Good to see you.